As the saying goes, practice makes perfect. But for this xylophone player, practice simply isn't enough. Christina Erb, only a junior at Castleton High School, but has already managed to become a very skilled xylophonist because of hard work and determination.
I started the bells kit, which is a really small version of a xylophone. And then in 6th grade, I started the xylophone. I couldn't make a sound out of a flute or buzz or anything. And so I decided to play this since I liked it. I don't know why I enjoyed it though. Maybe just because it's annoying. Because the snare drum and the xylophone, they're all really loud.
Christina Erb has recently received recognition for her xylophone playing after making it to the final round of the Young Musicians competition, where she won and was asked to perform with the Fargo-Moorhead Symphony.
I mean, we only ran through it like twice, and I'm like, sure, okay, because you have to make sure you're really on with like a metronome, because they're on and you'll be off if you're not. So I handled it all right, I think, but I made do, I guess.
After performing a piece from Beethoven by memory, she received a standing ovation.
That was crazy. I didn't know what to do, so I was walking away, and then Linda Boyd like pushed me back out.
First time she had been accompanied by a symphony outside of her high school. Christina hopes to double major in music and optometry. With photographer Jerrod Schumacher and Betsy Harmson, Campus News.
This is Alexis. Alexis, like most of her generation, is choosing to take their education online. In her case, upwards of 5 classes. And there are some benefits.
I took online courses just to try to get ahead and more caught up. I had recently switched my major, so I needed to take these online courses to just kind of get myself on the right track so that I wouldn't fall too far behind.
It's no longer tied to the school day, to a school building, or during the school year. And we can't prepare our kids for the 21st century using a 19th century model.
Governor Burgum is calling for a change in higher education, which will include an increased emphasis in online education. Burgum believes that there are a lot of positives with higher education currently, but that fundamental changes are coming in education and how knowledge is transferred.
It's a lot harder to absorb the material, I feel like, just because you have to really teach it to yourself, and if that's not your strong suit, it can really be a challenge.
But some are opposed to different forms of online education.
Whole bunch of different delivery models, and one of the worst, in my opinion, is just the taking an online class and have it being just PowerPoint, where you're plugging and playing and just going through one lecture at a time or one set of PowerPoint notes at a time. I think that that's a very terrible delivery model for students.
The debate remains on whether Burgum's plan will succeed, but the bigger question is, will an increased emphasis in online higher education work for North Dakota students? With photographer Jerrod Schumacher, Anthony Fridgen, Campus News. This is Crew, a student-run organization which has a chapter here at MSUL.
It's really encouraging to know you're not alone, because being a Christian, a Jesus follower, isn't easy, and so having those people you know are there to support you, encourage you, is super important, and you can't compare anything else to it.
Came here to Moorhead, I knew how to get plugged in, so I just searched for it, because God does some great things through ministry and campus.
According to a study done by Pew Research Center, over 35% of millennials identify as nones, meaning that they are either agnostic, atheist, or with no affiliation with any religion.
Today's society seems so busy, busy, they don't have time for church.
And I don't know if it's just because the busyness of school, or if it's just late nights of hanging out and studying.
This is Luke Sanderson.
Now I can ponder.
Luke is an atheist, meaning he does not believe in a God.
As a people, we're becoming more skeptical on issues, look more in depth in situations, and able to discover broader ideas.
But for Luke, expressing his belief can be difficult.
For me, my situation is dire because I haven't even told my parents I'm atheist, and I believe that they may ostracize me for what I believe, I guess.
Luke is just one of countless others from his generation who have decided to no longer follow a religion. With photographer Jerrod Schumacher, Anthony Fridgen, Campus News.
Walking around campus, you see the average squirrel doing what squirrels do. But there's nothing brown-eyed and bushy-tailed about this Concordia researcher. We talked to Joseph Whitaker, who spends his days teaching his students how to use radio telemetry to track their furry friends.
I grew up with squirrels and watched them a lot, and I guess in a way I felt like I took them for granted. Now I'm learning quite a bit from them.
Radio telemetry isn't the only thing nutty about this study. Research indicates that red and gray squirrels react differently within their peer groups.
We have the gray squirrels and red squirrels, and we're kind of curious, how do they exist on campus and what are they doing differently with one another? Gray squirrels tend to be more social. They have a sort of a social dominance hierarchy. So one individual will be dominant to another, so it could displace one from a food source. When I'm pointing at you, I get the strongest signal. When I move it away, yeah. Red squirrels tend to be a lot more territorial. They'll have one main food source where they store their things, and that might actually be a generational, multi-generational food storage.
The students try to be as humane as possible when trapping the squirrels. Even when placing the tracking devices around their neck to follow their locations around the Moorhead area.
So we'll bring them back, and then we do anesthetize them. So we anesthetize them for the safety of the squirrel and for the researchers. Put the collars on, give them a couple hours to wake up, and then release them again. Put them on, cut off the excess, and it's just on a zip tie, so it stays on them, and then they do seem to come off after a while.
With Concordia's help, we are one step closer to making a connection to the squirrels and maybe yielding more often at the crosswalk for these cuddly creatures. With photographer Jerrod Schumacher, Betsy Harmson, Campus News.
It will be 8 long months until we choose the next commander-in-chief.
But campaign season is already in full swing. We recently caught up with some local college groups to see what they think of the upcoming election. You turn on the TV and are bombarded with campaign ads, analysis, and debates, trying to appeal to the general public. So what do college students think of the election? Here at NDSU, the college Republicans are having a watch party for the most recent Republican debate, watching closely, trying to figure out who is the best fit for the country. But that's not the only thing they do.
We go door knocking, we will go walk in parades for them, and we try to get students rallied up to go and vote in November.
Over at MSUM, the college Democrats do similar things to get college students involved.
Letting kids know what they stand for. If they want to actually volunteer or phone call or door knock, we can set them up with organizers for each candidate and do that as well.
With Donald Trump controlling the primaries and Hillary Clinton edging Bernie Sanders, some college students still have hope for other candidates.
I understand what people are facing because I faced it myself.
The reason why I like Rubio is I think he is a really good, he bridges the divide between our party. He helps millennials like myself find a stronger place in the party.
I'm prepared and ready to take it on, and I hope.
Not only is she the most qualified candidate we've ever had run for office, but I feel she is the fighter we need in the White House to make change happen.
So who is going to win the election in November?
It will be Trump versus Clinton, and I do believe Trump will win. We'll beat her, but my hopeful prediction is that it's a Trump versus Rubio race, and then Rubio will ultimately beat him.
Inherited $200 million. You know where Donald Trump would be right now? Selling watches in Manhattan.
Hillary versus Trump, and I think Hillary's got it in the bag.
From March to November, young voters could feel the burn and vote for Bernie Sanders. Or we could see Rubio coming from behind and win. Anything can happen in the political world.
It's the silence here at Concordia College that speaks the loudest. There are few students walking about, talking, fewer than in past years as low enrollment plagues the college. Officials say, though the school has faculty for 2,700 students, only 2,100 cobbers are currently enrolled. According to administration at Concordia, $2.7 million needs to be saved or generated. Some of these savings came in the form of cuts, mostly to humanities programs such as classical studies and languages. Though administration declined an interview, the college states, metrics such as student-faculty ratio and average class size indicate a need to adjust staffing to current enrollment levels.
9.
Classical Studies Chair Dr. Heather Waddell Gruber says her department is feeling the brunt of the cuts. Of the 9 majors to be cut, 8 are either language or humanities programs. The results? 3 lost jobs for tenured faculty, a 4th untenured professor gone at the end of the semester, yet another instructor opting for early retirement.
I think it's deplorable for a college of the liberal arts to so viciously attack their liberal arts. And cutting language programs and classics programs is the oldest trick in the book.
You're from the administration, but I couldn't talk anybody.
The department held a forum for students in the program to voice their thoughts.
We're losing these other.
The tension in the room was easy to see.
And it's completely fallen on.
Students expressed a range of emotions.
What has happened has just been utterly revolting. Are we not valued?
And now they did this.
I love it at Concordia, and for the first time I feel like a number.
I've never felt more betrayed, and I've never felt more demoralized in my life.
This problem is not unique to Concordia. Both MSUM as well as NDSU are battling budget shortfalls. MSUM is also suffering from low enrollment and must cover 10% of its budget for next year. Meanwhile, NDSU must cut $6.4 million by delaying research. As for what's to come, administration at Concordia says cuts will cease after this year. For now, the silence speaks loudest.
Saying, what do you notice on this page?
Jonathan Clark is an expert on German studies, so it's no wonder he found himself shoulder to shoulder with Josh Groban, translating ancient German documents for him to view.
You can see the whole stars and everything.
The TLC show, Who Do You Think You Are?, helps stars trace their ancestry back to their origins. For Josh Groban, that led him to Germany.
But they couldn't tell me the name of this person until I signed all sorts of confidentiality statements. And then when I did, they told me it was Josh Groban. And I said, well, that's kind of cool. My daughter just loved Josh Groban.
After looking at some extremely old documents, Groban found that he had a great-grandfather 8 times removed that had actually been a brilliant astronomer, having been mentioned by Sir Isaac Newton.
Interesting. There I sat in a church in Bietigheim, Germany, and I got to guide Josh Groban along with his ancestry. A free trip to Germany, I can live with that, right?
Who would have thought that a trip to Germany could answer some questions in a star's family tree and put a Concordia professor on national television? With photographer Jerrod Schumacher, Betsy Harmson.
Wow.
Campus News.
Changes could be coming from Minnesota students attending North Dakota schools, because House Bill 1265, if passed, could limit the amount of students being able to apply for reciprocity.
It's a lot of money for my parents to be putting in, for me to be putting in the future, and I've already set up my life here, and it's just going to be an added expense that could potentially damage me and my family.
However, the bill's sponsor, Rick Becker, states this will not affect student ratios currently attending schools.
This is looking at the ratio of students who are in a reciprocity program. If, for instance, there were only 10% students at NDSU that were North Dakotan and 90% students that were from out of state, this wouldn't change that at all.
Becker states that the bill is about the North Dakota taxpayer and how the average cost per year for a college education is $14,000 for North Dakotans, and how the average in-state tuition charge is only at $7,000.
So that's half of what it costs to educate a college student for 1 year. Who's paying the other half? The answer is the North Dakota taxpayers.
NDUS Chancellor Mark Hagerott disagrees with the bill.
A lot of, for example, in engineering and technology, we get a lot of Minnesota students that do very well in the STEM fields, and they come in and go into those.
NDSU is my home away from home. I have friends here that support me. I have teachers here that are awesome, and it's just a home away from home.
It is still unclear how much this bill will impact Minnesota students, as the bill is still attempting to pass through the House legislature. With photographer Jerrod Schumacher, Anthony Frigen, Campus News.